Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Saffy Sprocket, and today we are going to be looking at the LoneRider Adventure Tent. I have had a few requests about this tent on the channel. A lot of you have been very interested in it. It is the smaller tent of the two that I own for traveling, and again, it's had so much attention. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's jump in. So straight off the bat, this is the LoneRider Adventure Tent. Now I have two LoneRider tents in total. I have the larger moto tent and I also have the smaller LoneRider. I use them both for completely different reasons, and depending on the situation will completely depend on which one I take. A lot of you have been asking me to have a little look at this, so this is what we're going to be doing here today. We are in my wonderful untamed backyard. If I'd spent as much time into looking after my yard as I did on the road, it would look a lot more fabulous, I'm sure, but I don't. So now today we are just going to go we're going to unpackage this thing, we're going to set it up, and we're going to do a nice walkthrough. And also I do need to clean it because it has been abused for quite some time. I've got a little bit of maintenance to do on both of my tents, and because it's a nice sunny day, I thought it'd be really good to catch up on them. So let's take a quick look. Okay, so this is the bag. As you can see, we have the LoneRider tent logo here. We also have these really fantastic loops. As you can see, they're all around the bag. I especially love these because, as you guys know, I use Andy straps, which are huge Velcro straps. They're really fantastic. You don't get any of the issues of the metal clunking back and whacking you in the face. But these loop through really well. So when I'm securing it to my tent, I just put my straps through there, secure it. We also have these two grab handles as well, which can be loosened. So I'll show you in a loosened position, which is brilliant. And the reason this is brilliant is because if you need to leave your tent somewhere and you need to basically kind of walk up a hill, you can just slug it. So this is what I like to call backpack mode for when I'm walking around. It's Now at the side we also have a grab handle. Again, if you do want to be carrying this thing around, you can do the Snow White method, which is just like hi-ho, and or you can do handbag mode. The girls will know what I'm on about, going to school like this. Now, as I said before, we have these straps on the side. So when you are traveling, you tighten these up, and obviously this makes the width of it a lot smaller. But when it comes to unpacking, obviously you loosen these as much as you can, just for that extra wiggle room. And then basically to get it out the bag, it's really simple. The clip is just a quick release buckle. As you can see, we just do that and we unroll it, because it is a dry bag as well. So if you ever want to go out for the day and you also don't want to carry a tent, but you do need a dry bag, it does double up. And for storage, we can also roll this all the way back up. Done. Okay, so now that we've got the tent out, we have this drawstring. This is an absolute lifesaver. Do not lose this, because when it comes to putting your tent away into that tiny bag, you can't do it without this. This is very important. So that's going in my pocket and that's staying here. Now we've got our tent. I am going to be completely honest, I did not put this away in the best possible fashion, because at the time it was raining. And as you can see as well, it is really dirty. And that's because I am also planning on giving it a nice clean today with the jet wash. And also I plan to waterproof it a little bit as well. Tent comprises of two separate sections. So we have our base section, which is just here. And then we have our outer coat. Now there's two separate doors, and that's because you can walk straight through the tent. And the easiest way to remember it is just position the doors where you want to wake up or where you want to climb in for bed. And that's basically it. There's not really much else that you need to remember. Oh my God, the bag's still fogging. Oh, all the tent pegs are wet. I've not used this for like 3 months. Now, when it comes to setting the tent up, I love this system. And the reason that I love this system is because you can't go wrong. All the tent oh my God, it smells like grass. All the tent pegs are connected together. And the reason that I like this is because it is impossible to lose a tent peg, because every tent pole is connected. So you either lose all of the tent pegs or you lose none of them. And so far it has been working very, very efficiently. Now, when it comes to setting it up, I'm going to be completely honest, it took me a few tries to get it done. Just because it's so weird, it's very, very unusual. But then when you learn the knack of it, it's actually surprisingly easy. So all you need to do is connect all your poles together. You can't go wrong. There's only one way for the poles to go ever. And then you just take a corner and you basically just pop it in here and you just go round the tent. And that's basically it. It's not particularly difficult. The only thing you have to be careful is that sometimes they can pop out and hit you in the face if you're not careful, which is never fun. Now, when it comes to building the rest of the tent, there's a certain way to do it, which I have found the best way to do it is to start in the middle. So I have found that if you pinch the 2 black squares and just hook these onto the center before you do anything, it stops things flying around and hitting you in the face. Because the thing about these is that they are a bit helicoptery, and when the weather is really bad, there has been a few times where I've hit myself in the face, I won't lie. And I just do it all symmetrically. Now, once we've got the base ones on, this is the point where I start to do the center ones. Now, these can be a little bit finicky. And the reason being is because you have to do both of them at once. So you kind of have to find a way to hold. I'll do the next one from the front so you can see it. So that's the front one. Now, I'll show you guys. So if you don't hold it, it can be prone to popping out. But obviously if you do hold it and you get it in, it's fine. Now, something that I will say about the inner layer of this tent is that when I was camping, this is 200% bug proof. And I know that because quite often when I was going to sleep, my head would be just here looking up. And above me would be about 50 mosquitoes staring at me through the net every single night, especially when I was camping near water. It's the most horrifying thing to sleep next to mosquitoes, basically a couple of centimeters away from your face, sticking their little noses, just like, fresh meat. But it is definitely 200% bug proof. And as horrific as it was to sleep with them so close, the net did keep them out, but it wasn't fun staring at them. Now, the only thing I will say about this as well is that this layer can be a bit of a pain putting up at night time, because sometimes you don't really see where the front door is, and there's been times where I've put it back to front and it's been a big pain. That would happen quite a lot when it was stormy weather, because as you can see, it looks like a big, especially in the dark, it just looks like a giant brown sheet. Sometimes I'd put 1 or 2 pegs in, just so that if I was battling with the wind, then I could still manage to keep it in one place. So that's pretty much almost built now. Oh my God, everything is so dirty. You do find yourself constantly repositioning the tent all the time as well. Oof. You don't usually have that in the wild. So something that's worth doing as well, you'll notice that there's actually 2 loops by these doors, and you always want to put extra tent pegs in both of those loops. And the reason being is that if it's really, really windy and you need to get in and out the tent, having a small gap to get in and out is a lot easier than just having this blowing in inside the tent. Gosh, smells like my last camping trip. Oh, it's hot in here. It's hot in here, Jesus. Now, when it comes to the inside of the tent, it's equipped with multiple mesh pockets to help organize your items, and it even has a mesh layer on top, allowing you to dry clothes throughout the night quickly, and also storage any midnight snacks that you might need. Something that I really like about this particular tent is the fact that it's got 2 zippers either side of the tent, making it really easy to run power cables if necessary. This was something that I did a lot on the road because I had a lot of gadgets that needed charging, and even just if you want to charge things like power banks or your phone, it was such a handy thing to own. Something that this tent comes with that I don't have on me at the moment is the reflective SOS ground mat. On one section it's just a regular ground mat, and on the other section it does say giant SOS, which is just an ingenious add-on because it's something I would have never ever have considered, and thankfully it's never something I've had to use. But knowing that my ground tent could potentially be reversed to save my life is something that was just really well thought of, and I do have to give the tent company a little bit of brownie points for that one. So let's talk about the features. First off, let's talk about the size of this tent. Now, whether you're setting out on an adventure with a partner or alone, this is an ideal tent for your needs. Not only is it spacious, it's also lightweight, and it can even fit into a backpack without taking up too much space. It's a perfect cross between portability and size, and because it's light enough, it would make any expedition comfortable, even if you weren't going to take it on the bike. Now onto the second feature that I really like about this tent, which is gear storage. Now this has definitely had a lot of thought into rider convenience because the adventure tent can accommodate your riding gear, your accessories inside or outside. We also have the handy vestibule and also lots of fly screens as well to keep everything nice and organized. Now when it comes to packing the tent down, it packs down to roughly 40 by 15 centimeters. It's about yay big, and you can fit it in almost any side pannier. I personally prefer to put mine on a pilly seat because I don't carry any of the pillies, and because of the ability to use additional straps, I actually just attach it to my crash bars, and it means that I can use all of my luggage for carrying all of the things that I need to basically carry with me. Now the other feature that I really like about this tent as well, which again is not one of those things I would have ever really thought about, but there is a warning triangle on the outside of the tent. And the reason that this is that in some countries you're required to carry a triangle in case of a breakdown on the side of the road, and because your tent doubles as that triangle, it means you get to cut back on some of the additional weight. I know that France is one of those countries where you're supposed to carry a triangle, and I don't think it's one of those things you'll get spot checked, but if you end up on the side of the road breaking down and don't have one of those, you do get fined. So you can literally just take your tent off and put it at the side of the road, and it's got that triangle. So it's really genius. Obviously when it comes to the colours of the tent, they're very stealthy. It blends into forestry really, really well. You're unlikely to draw a lot of attention to yourself if you're wild camping, unlike my motorcycle, which draws a lot of attention because it's bright pink. Okay, so on to the safety features. Obviously, camping and wild camping as a female is quite a scary thing to do. So just to emphasize the security point, we have our 2 zips here, and then we have our little locking feature. So we just lock those on, and then basically, if you try to open this, it pulls the tent. So there's no way to open this without the tent going. Now when it comes to the tent itself is constructed with a superior grade metal. That means that the tent is basically highly resilient and lasts quite a long time. The poles and the pegs themselves as well are made out of aircraft grade aluminium, which means they are super, super lightweight, and they're super, super strong as well. I know that they're super strong because I went to push one down with my motorcycle boot and it went straight through my motorcycle boot, and they weren't cheap boots. That's actually how I damaged my first pair of bike boots. So, whoops. So let's talk about the shortfalls of the tent. I did briefly touch on this. Setting up the tent. The tent itself is really revolutionary. It works really well with me because I lose everything, so the fact that everything's permanently kind of connected together means that setting up is a breeze. It's really, really good. But again, as I mentioned before, it can be a bit of a pain when you have to put up the inner layer before the outer layer, and the weather isn't great. But overall for me, despite that downside, it's still worth it because I am a haphazard, chaotic mess when it comes to being on the road. And although I do get a little bit of water on the inside and it is less than ideal, that for me, the ease of being able to put it up, and also the fact that I'm so used to doing this tent now, I would definitely just continue to kind of buy this system. Now, a lot of you ask me why I have 2 different tents. It's really simple. I have the motor tent and the adventure tent. The motor tent I use when I'm going to go to a campsite and I found a particular spot And basically I'm going to be sleeping at that particular spot for the entirety of the trip. So, you know, I'll set the massive tent up, I'll spread out, I'll make it cozy, you know, I'm going to be stopping there for a week. Whereas the adventure tent is very much geared towards journeys where I'm going to be moving every single night. So like when I was in Europe and I was doing like 500 miles down the road and packing up and, you know, putting down the tent every single day, because it was smaller and lighter and more compact, and because everything was connected, it was really easy to get down and up every single day. And it's definitely something you want in a tent if you're going to be traveling around every day. If you're planning to go to like a particular area, let's say you wanted to go spend a week in Cornwall, and you just want like a base to come back to, it makes sense to have a bigger tent. But for people who want to keep moving every night and basically getting the joy of having to organize somewhere they're going to be sleeping that night, a tiny tent like the adventure tent makes a lot more sense than a big tent. So this is why I have it. This is what I use it for. And the two different types of trips. So yeah, there we have it. That is the LoneRider Adventure Tent. Now, if you guys do want to see more great bike content, don't forget to hit subscribe. In the meantime, ride safe, stay crazy. My name's Saffy Sprocket, and I'll see you next week.